Somebody once said, facts don't care about your feelings. And when it comes to the narrative around electric vehicles, the internal combustion engine, hybrids, aka fake electric vehicles, we've been hearing in the media and from many legacy automotive companies, the narrative skews heavily toward feelings and tends to sorely lack facts. So here are some facts today. We're looking at the 2024 Cox Automotive Path to EV Adoption Study. A summary, key quote on the front, the skeptics are coming. So these are some key points from a survey of people, not feelings and emotions, but people who are actually asked their thoughts, their plans, their intentions regarding EVs and so on. Number 1, EV skeptics, the next wave, are likely to begin the switch in the next 3 to 5 years. And these are skeptics. According to this survey, nearly half of all vehicle shoppers are not currently considering an electric vehicle. Put differently, more than half are considering an electric vehicle. And remember, this is a moving target. Over time, with each passing month, each new neighbour, friend, family member, relative, co-worker seen driving around in a Tesla or something else can start a conversation. Ask people 10 years ago, are you considering buying an EV soon? Most would have said no, too expensive, no range, blah, blah, blah. Now, more than half of people already intend on buying one. So the point is, this number is increasing. What we're looking at here in grey, intenders, those who plan to purchase a new or used vehicle within the next 2 years. This is 100% of the market. Considerers, those considering the purchase of an electric vehicle within the next 24 months. 55%. Now, the reason that I'm emphasising this 55%, anyone want to remind me roughly what percent of all new vehicles produced and sold in 2023 were electric? Anyone? Any takers? Excluding fake electric vehicles, hybrids, was around 10%. This is a pretty big fucking gap. In the next 24 months, more than half of people they surveyed who intend on purchasing something in the next 24 months, 2 years, intend on buying an electric vehicle. Yet, in 2023, roughly 10% of all new vehicles were electric. So if these 55% follow through on the purchase of an electric vehicle in the next 2 years, holy shit. So we can see the split of folks considering an electric vehicle versus the skeptics. The skeptics make up 45%. We're well past the tipping point now. And remember, as I said, you survey these same skeptics 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from now. You know what they're going to say. Increasingly large numbers of these current skeptics say, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm going to buy an electric vehicle. So this number is only going down. And this number is only going up. If you guys want to geek it out and look at all of the details, the breakdown in terms of the demographics regarding income, credit and so on, feel free. Interesting to note, there's an absolutely even split with skeptics between male and female. I think they forgot the third category, which is offended. Somebody better write to their manager and make sure they include the other category there. However, with considerers, 60% male, 40% female. Strange. Bit of an anomaly. Not sure why that would be. I would say something about logic, but I'd probably get cancelled. So let's move on. A majority of EV skeptics feel the time to switch is in 3 to 5 years. Now remember, we just saw people and their intent to purchase in the next 2 years. We're now talking about the next 3 to 5 years. 80% of skeptics will shift to considerers within 10 years. And by the way, it's going to be a lot more than that, a lot sooner than that. But the point here, even when you ask the skeptics, okay, maybe not in the next 2 years, but what about 3 to 5 years? They're acknowledging they're not going to commit to buying ICE for eternity and never considering an EV. So the skeptics, when asked, 20%, I'll never buy an EV. My dick's too small and I want people to know that EVs are for, I don't know why the skeptics would say never. 10% think, by the way, today they think that they consider an EV in 10 plus years. 16% in 6 to 9, but look at this, the overwhelming majority of skeptics, which is already 45% of everyone in the next 2 years, right? Those same people who aren't considering an EV in the next 2 years, 54% in the next 3 to 5 definitely considering an EV. If I didn't know any better, trigger alert, I'd think that the vast majority of consumers are pretty well informed on electric vehicles today, not everybody. If we pass these numbers, 54% of the 45% means that in the next 0 to 5 years, in the next half decade, roughly 75% of the people surveyed are likely to purchase an electric vehicle. E.g., before the end of the decade, 3/4 or more. And these are based on perceptions today. What do you think happens months from now, a couple of years from now, when people realize the benefits, the cost, total cost of ownership? Because a lot of consumers don't know all the facts yet. I wonder if the legacy automotive companies who are doubling down on fake electric vehicles, aka hybrids, have figured this stuff out. Cost and charging related concerns remain common barriers. skeptics are more likely to see infrastructure issues as a barrier. So among considerers, some of the negatives, the number one issue they see, too expensive. Fair enough, affordability, obviously, primary consideration for just about everyone, right? Good news that electric vehicles are going to continue to precipitously decline in terms of their costs, meaning this is going away. Number two, lack of charging stations, aka a lack of being informed about reality. There's plenty of charging stations. Oh, by the way, you know the best charging station on earth? Your garage at night while you're asleep? A non-issue. And a lot of people argue, well, you know, if we could inform consumers more, then people would realise charging stations are everywhere. It's not a big deal. Relax. As more EVs sell, more people see one and talk to their neighbour, their friend, their colleague. Oh, wait, how do you charge it? Where do you charge it? How are road trips? Oh, it's actually fine. Oh, you charge it at night? Oh, I didn't realise that. I'm going to buy one. It's a flywheel. Number three, a tie, cost of battery replacement and length of time to charge. Now, charging time is the only meaningful issue right now because as it stands today, it is still a little quicker to fill up a gasoline engine versus to charge a battery. Assuming, of course, the only time you recharge versus refuel is at a charging station or a gas station. Because if we're considering the fact that an electric vehicle charges passively while you're at home and it's parked in your garage, there's no time expended whatsoever doing that versus being forced. I mean, nobody has a gas station in their garage, right? So this is really a non-issue. And charging times are rapidly increasing. Concerns about battery losing charge, these are ill-founded. Even after a few 100,000 miles, typically you might have lost maybe 5% or so of your range. You know the same shit happens to a gasoline engine, right? You do realise that, right? Parts wear out, becomes less efficient. And number six, the inability to charge an EV at home. This does certainly apply to people, for example, living in apartment complexes, condos and so on, who don't have access to charging. It's a pain in the ass, but this too is changing. And keep in mind, these are issues among people considering buying an electric vehicle. What about the skeptics? What do they see as the issues? Number one, lack of charging stations. LOL. Too expensive. Same top two here, but it's quite interesting, isn't it? I don't know, where do you charge it? So what do you think happens when these skeptics discover that there's supercharging stations everywhere and they can charge at home overnight? As for too expensive again, it's true. The more affordable EVs are, the better. Good thing there's companies driving costs down right now. Inability to charge an EV at home. Big difference between the skeptics and the considerers. Interestingly, length of time to charge, the least critical consideration among skeptics. And now the motivators between considerers and skeptics. Among considerers, major motivators in terms of purchasing an electric vehicle. Technology improvement, well, that's happening. Faster charging, that's happening. Longer range, that's happening. Better battery health, it's not really a non-issue, but whatever. These are important to both considerers and skeptics. Again, if you guys want to pause, feel free, we're moving on. Drivers of higher consideration, price parity, education, and increased awareness. Now, this is interesting. In 2021, 33% of respondents said they would consider purchasing an EV if it was the same price as an ICE alternative. In 2024, same question, now 46%. Isn't that interesting? What has changed for such a large increase in terms of skeptics thinking, you know what, if it's around price parity, I'd consider one. We can see the gap closing in terms of prices, but that would have had nothing to do with the responses. This question wasn't about what is the current price. It's just literally, if an EV was same price as an ICE alternative, would you consider buying one? Interesting. It's almost as if perceptions are changing. Sentiment is changing. People are getting used to the idea of EVs. By the way, spoiler alert, that's exactly what's happening. Now, I just want to focus on this one. More exposure to EVs opens the door to higher consideration. Really? Oh, shit. Jeez. I wish I had have known that before I saw this survey. It's almost like something that's kind of obvious that I've literally been saying now for 4.5 years in a row. Remember the whole example of the neighbours, the colleagues, the friends, the co-workers? You've heard that a fucking 1,000 times because it's true. Another reason I continue to point out the derps. We need to advertise and tell people about... Bro, relax. This is happening organically. Look, among the people considering an electric vehicle in the next 2 years, 72% know someone who currently owns an EV. And among the skeptics, only 40%. This seems to strongly suggest that people who know somebody who currently owns an electric vehicle, of them, a huge percentage may in fact have had a conversation or two with the person or people whom they know that own an EV. Hey bro, where do you charge it? What about road trips? I thought they explode every time you drive them, etc. These are the conversations happening on the ground level every single day. I feel like some guy with 3 first names once said, and actually many times said, the more Teslas Tesla sells, the more Teslas Tesla sells. And the whole point of that was this: exposure and knowledge of the perks through people in your community, in your social circle owning an EV and telling you the facts tend to cause a shift in perceptions. Only 17% of the people considering an electric vehicle do not know someone who currently owns one versus 49% of the skeptics. Now, this is important. Remember earlier we looked at the number of people considering an electric vehicle. As those people follow through, you know what's going to happen? The number of people who don't know somebody who owns an electric vehicle is going to shrink massively. Massively. And I mean massively. What happens then? More people have the facts as opposed to the feelings and suddenly realize, oh shit, these EVs are a good idea after all. Might buy one. Again, it's a feedback loop, a flywheel. And now, nearly all shoppers could be enticed to purchase an EV sooner. People considering in 1 to 2 years, price is the top reason they delay their purchase. So in other words, strategically speaking, it would be a brilliant idea for companies producing electric vehicles to be able to produce them more affordably and therefore sell them more affordably. I mean, crazy idea, but imagine if you had a plan to do that and maybe even publish it publicly a long time ago. That'd probably be a good idea if you could execute on it. Bizarrely, consideration is highly impacted by non-financial incentives like free charging, free home charger, free maintenance plans. This just goes to show how brain dead the average person is. Well, hey bro, make this multi-tens of thousands of dollars commitment. No, you don't want to? Oh, what if I give you the equivalent of like 2% of the purchase price back in some free charging, bro? Then, yeah, good idea. Idiots. I mean, seriously, people are so fucking dumb. Hey, look, it is what it is. I'm just saying, let's say you're going to drop $40,000 on a vehicle, right? Just imagine they're like, no, I'm not spending that. And then suddenly a company goes, well, what if you get free charging for 1 year, which will save you not even 10% of the purchase price, maybe 5%. Oh yeah, that's a great deal. I'm going to buy one now. Morons. Interestingly also, these people are more likely to cite environmentally friendly as a reason as opposed to gas prices are too high. Those considering in the next 3 to 5 years, more likely to cite a lack of knowledge about EVs as a barrier. Remember that discussion earlier about the people buying one the next 1 to 2 years? As they buy, guess what? The people now who lack knowledge gain knowledge because their neighbour, their friend, their family member and so on gets an EV and suddenly, non-issue. Then these people become these people. This is getting fucking messy and then you get where this is going, right? These people become these people. People looking at 5+ years, too expensive, the top barrier. Fair enough. If only some companies were going to introduce more affordable EVs. And there's a lot of misconceptions around range, lower cost, faster charging times and so on being motivators. This is really just a lack of education. But again, as you can see from this clusterfuck, probably should sign this. It's a masterpiece. There's my signature. What do you think? That's an SMR original 2024. The folks buying in the next 1 to 2 years then become the informants of the people who are thinking the next 3 to 5. And suddenly the next 3 to 5 become the next 1 to 2 and so on and so forth. The biggest barrier seemingly, other than price of course, which inevitably prices will come down, is information. But we've seen the cycle now. The more people get an electric vehicle, the more people have conversations about the benefits to people who are currently skeptical and then convert the skeptics to the considerers, to the buyers, to the informants and so on. EV consideration expected to surge in second half of decade. Thank you, Captain Obvious. No shit, Sherlock. So just to orient people, in blue, the percentage of people considering a new or used electric vehicle within 12 months. And a decade from now, they have essentially 91% of people. Now, I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these are not aggressive enough. They're not really factoring in the flywheel effect, at least not fully. But as it stands today, based on their survey, next 1 to 2 years, 55% of people. 26 to 2028, they're looking at essentially 80% of people and so on. The pattern is right, but I think it's going to happen a lot quicker than people realize. What do you think happens when Tesla's next-gen vehicle is available? Meaningfully more affordable than the current gen. Something to ponder. Regardless, this is what disruption looks like. Now, EV consideration growth has slowed in the short term. I wonder why that could be. Certainly nothing to do with the fact that consumers are extremely price conscious and the average electric vehicle, at least in the United States today and most other parts of the world, is significantly more expensive than a comparable ICE vehicle. Not true for Tesla, but in general. Oh, and I wonder if interest rates rocketing on what today consumers cite their main obstacle to purchasing being price and interest rates directly relating to affordability because of price. I wonder if that could have had anything to do with this short-term bump along the road. No, it's all Elon's fault, actually. Obviously, Elon having opinions on X has destroyed short-term interest and consideration for EVs. That's the only possible explanation. Elon bad. The EV market is casting a wider net with more Gen Z, multicultural and lower income shoppers. If you want to pause, feel free. Let's move on. New EV consideration grows, particularly among mainstream brands. Tesla still leads by a wide margin. Let's just imagine that. What we're looking at here, apparently, when consumers were asked if they're aware and not considering an EV or aware and considering one, which brands they were considering. By the way, just goes to show how effectively big brands can milk ill-informed and or extremely loyal customers over time. I mean, look at this. Toyota, probably the last company on earth you want to buy an electric vehicle from. They suck harder than a vacuum. Don't get me started. Yeah, look at that. Number 3 on the list. A distant third though. Dealers and automakers are fostering a more balanced, strategic relationship to accelerate EV adoption. Okay. You know what's actually going to happen? Dealers are going out of business. They're going to disappear. Companies that want to survive and will survive will be selling their vehicles direct to consumers. Going to skip ahead. Don't really care about the dinosaurs known as stealerships that are going to disappear. Now to the key takeaways. The switch is coming. Many EV skeptics will become considerers in the next 3 to 5 years. No shit, Sherlock. Skeptics are likely to convert in the 2026 to 2028 timeframe. Used EVs are being considered more often compared to 2021 as the used EV market expands. The real key takeaway, something I've been pointing out repeatedly, is that flywheel. Aside from the fact that EVs are getting better, more affordable, all of that shit, charging faster, cool story, that's all going to happen. The big factor here is the more people get an electric vehicle, particularly a good one, the more people who previously had no exposure, a lot of false assumptions, learn the facts and convert from a skeptic to someone considering to somebody who actually does purchase an electric vehicle. And then that electric vehicle, its owner has those same conversations with more skeptics and on and on and on and on and on. Next minute, almost everyone is considering and then does purchase an electric vehicle. This is happening a lot faster than people realize. Again, 55% considering an EV in the next 24 months. And of the skeptics, more than half of the remaining 45% considering one in the next 3 to 5 years. It's over. EVs are happening. This disruption is inevitable. No amount of fascist mandates and heavy-handedness from governments anywhere, no amount of shit-talking EVs, no amount of incentivizing them is going to make a fucking difference. They are an economic inevitability. It's just a matter of watching this play out now. Oh, and will this be an awkward time to remind everybody that a decade from now, Toyota still expects that 2/3 of the vehicles they sell will not be electric? It's probably awkward, so I better not mention that. Yikes. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, it has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR or I can keep going. Plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game's improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.